This session on reasoning is on statements and assumptions. Before we begin, let's understand what is an assumption. An assumption is something that you assume, that you take to be true. You take it that it is certain to happen. It's something that is taken for granted. In a statements and assumptions question, you will be given one statement followed by two assumptions. Now this question will be followed by 5 options which will be in this format. Whether assumption 1 is implicit, whether assumption 2 is implicit, either 1 or 2 can be implicit, neither of them is implicit, or both of them are implicit. Now what do you mean by implicit? By implicit you mean that this assumption naturally and logically follows the statement that has been provided. What you essentially have to do is, once you read the statement, you have to answer that which of the two assumptions can naturally and logically follow the statement that has been provided. Let's look at how to approach and solve this kind of a problem. The first step, as always, is to read the statement carefully. The second step is read assumption 1 and see whether the information in the statement is enough for you to make this assumption with certainty. Similarly, do the same for the second assumption. Let's understand this with the help of an example. Here we are given one statement and two assumptions. The statement is, the college principal asked the students in the hostel to conserve electricity. Step 2. Now you look at the statement and see whether it has enough information for you to make assumption number 1 with certainty. Assumption 1 is, the students in the hostel will obey the principal. Now there is no reason to assume that the students will listen to the principal. The statement only says that the college principal asked them to conserve electricity. There is no reason to assume that all the students in the hostel will definitely listen to the principal. There is no guarantee for that. Hence, assumption 1 is not implicit. Step 3, we do the same for assumption 2. Assumption 2 says, conserving electricity is a good thing. Now if you look at the statement, the college principal has asked the students in the hostel to conserve electricity. The tone of the sentence suggests that the principal is asking the students to do something nice, to do something good. Therefore, we can assume that conserving electricity is desirable. Hence, assumption 2 is implicit. When you are solving this kind of a question, you must look at assumption 1 and assumption 2 independent of each other. When you are trying to solve assumption 2, never consider whatever was said in assumption 1. Treat them independently, read the statement, see whether assumption 1 holds, see whether assumption 2 holds independently of assumption 1. Let's look at some more tips and shortcuts for this kind of a question. First, assumptions are not guesses. You have to be sure. They have to logically follow the statement. You might know lots of true facts in the real world, but even if that assumption is true outside of this question, if it does not logically follow whatever is said in the statement, it is not valid. So we should always look at an assumption in conjunction with the statement provided. Second, be wary of strong words used. Strong words are words like only, best, definitely, certainly, and strongly, and so on. Now they reduce the chances of an assumption being implicit. An assumption is a logical statement. It's a fact. A fact does not have strong words like definitely and certainly. In case an assumption does contain such strong words, check once whether the statement also has the same strong words. If it does not have, then this assumption will not be implicit.